Hello, good evening, welcome to Easy 8's online painting club. My name is Danny, it says it right down there at the bottom of the screen. I'm half an hour late. I'm really sorry. I was at work, due to leave hours ago, and at the last minute I got hauled into a very important meeting. I couldn't miss it. I did put out there on Facebook that I was going to be late with no determinate time, but I'm here, and I really like to make sure that I'm on time, so I feel like quite I've let you down. I do apologise so much, but thank you for coming along anyway. I was getting messages coming over, I was watching the live chat on the YouTube app on my phone, and I just put a little message in there saying, hey, I'm on my way. My apologies. I got people saying that they want a refund. Yeah, refunds in the post. Hi, everyone's saying hi. Thanks guys, thanks for coming along. Who have we got joining us this evening? We have got, it doesn't tell me in the live chat right there, it does say over here, I've got Stafford, I've got Kesslin, I've got Jeff, and I've got Darren. Hi guys, thanks very much for coming along. Sorry to disappoint you by being so late. Let's move on, shall we? It's been a couple of weeks since I was last online, because last week I went to my best friend's wedding. It was a wonderful event. I had a great time. There was much dancing, much drinking, but of course it did mean that I had to miss the show. Normally if I'm going to miss a show, I like to put it on a day either side, but with it being a wedding and there being guests and entertainments and just general work around it, it was very difficult to do that. So yeah, it was just easier to not do one last week. So glad to announce that I've not done anything since last show. I did play around with a little bit of Seraphim Sepia on a claw on one of my Tyranids here, but that's all I've done really. That was like the day after last week's the last show that I've done. Anyway, if you're new here to Easy 8, it's not a tutorial show or anything like that. There's loads of that sort of stuff out there. This is literally a social club, a painting club, if you will, that you can come along, join in the live chat over there with these likely lads and girls, lads and girls, and you can come and join in and just kind of get chatting with those guys. You can talk about victories you've had, failures that you've had. Maybe you want to share some tips or get some tips or whatever, or maybe you just fancy the chit chat, which a lot of our guys do. So yes, if you like what we do here, you can follow us on Facebook. I'm pointing in the right directions nowadays. You can find us on Instagram. And also at the end of the show, we are generally on Discord over at the Easy 8 After Party, where you can join us there if you want to. If you do like what we do consider liking us and following us, and most importantly subscribing to the channel, because every little bit really helps. The last time that I was on a couple of weeks ago, I made a little quip just at the end of the show saying, hey, we've got 46 subscribers. Wouldn't it be great if by tomorrow morning we had 47 subscribers? And sure enough, by the following morning we had 47 subscribers. Thank you very much. I did put out a little video on Facebook to say thank you to that particular individual, whose name right now eludes me. It eludes me because it didn't stop at 47. It went up to 56. It actually went up to 57, and then we lost one, which happens sometimes. So it's not that we just had like one the following day. We had like 20% increase in subscribers. So doing something right on the YouTube algorithm, but most importantly, it's you guys. So thank you very much for subscribing to this humble channel that I run out of a tiny little attic in the top of my house as a hobby. It means the world to me. So thank you very much. But don't stop there. Keep sharing the word and subscribe. If you like any of what we do here, we've got the other platforms that I've mentioned. There are links to those just down there in the description. You can click on those at any time you like, and you can go over to those different places that we are on, and you can kind of sign up, talk to us, or just share photos, or just read what we put out there. That's cool too. You don't have to commit to anything. That's all right. Also, just being like a nice show of things that I like to do. I like to shout out about other people and kind of talk about the cool things that are out there. And there's also some people that I wouldn't say affiliates. They're not affiliates. They're just kind of associates. People who I like, who follow this show, and I kind of shared some links to them. So you've got Graham Henderson over at Wet Palette Miniatures. You've got John Takax over Out of This World Models and Minis. There's loads of people. There's Purple Lion Creations. There's Charlie Foxtrot Models. And just over those few people that I really kind of talk to quite a bit, there's some links to those guys just down there as well. So if you're interested, pop on over and have a little chat. Now, I hope that my sound is coming through nice and clearly, because I've been playing with the audio recently, trying to improve the channel a little bit, but kind of ran out of time with the busyness with the wedding. So do let me know if my sound isn't very good. And I'm noticing that as I just kind of logged on now and talking, my screen's kind of going crackly. I think it's just my monitor, but if things start to go weird, shout it out and let me know, because maybe there's something I can do, but probably not. I will just hope that everything works. Cheers. What an evening it's been. What an evening. So today I'm going to be just cracking on with my Tyranid Trygon that I've been really enjoying. I've been really getting back into painting Tyranids, and I've had quite a few successes recently. If you're new here and you don't know exactly what those successes are, head back to the last episode and you'll see the successes I had. Especially compare that to the week before, where I was experimenting and wasn't too happy with some of the things that I was doing. Now, much better, really getting on somewhere with it. So, I'd love to know what you're working on, by the way. If you are working on a project, do let us know. Jeff says, pics and sound are okay here. Brilliant, that's all I need to know. If it kind of goes crackly, that's what I need to know, because I think it's from the monitor. It's old, it's shabby, it's probably on its way out. Kes says, no issues with sound on her end. Brilliant, cheers. Yeah, I'd love to know what it is you're working on, so share it. Well, who points that way? Come on. Share it over there in the live chat. I want to know about it. Put some photos up on Facebook. That'd be cool. Yeah, my screen is going crackles. Right, okay, brilliant. I'm going to take you over to the workbench now, and hopefully the camera is working. It's not working. Hopefully, if I give it... I'm going to give it a little bit of a jolt and see what happens. Let's see. I'm going to take you back to the intro. Sometimes this kicks it into gear. It's still not working. It was working like 20 seconds ago. Jeff says the picture is jumping now. Cool. Well, let me have a little look. I've got some notifications here. It says skipped frames. Hopefully it's just because it's a Friday evening and picture is laggy, but that could just be my... No, I think it is my end, guys. I think it is my end. It could just be that it's a Friday evening. A lot of people are using the internet in the area. Yeah, looking now. Just some skipped frames. Hopefully it doesn't last, because that would be awful, wouldn't it? Anyway, cool. I really want to get this camera working, so I'm just going to see if I can. I'm going to play with things, and things might change here on the screen. Let's give it a little nudge. I'm gonna see if I can. You're going to see behind the scenes now. Here we go. You can see the workbench, but you can't see my hand moving, which means it's not a live feed. It's just frozen. Kez says that in the town that I'm in, that they're doing some works on there. Can you see my hand moving in front of the camera? You can see it on this camera here, like where I am. You can see my hand moving underneath the main camera. Can you see that on the workbench screen? Is that coming through at all? Is it just my end being weird? Can you see my hand waving? I move my Trygon out of the way. Here's my cup. Can you see this? Because I can't see it moving. I bet you guys can't. This is what happens when you're late. You don't get to do a tech setup. But this camera has been a bit gammy lately. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop it. I'm going to go into the back door of this camera. No, must be a still pic. Yeah, there you go. Here we go. I'm going to go into background camera. Everything's going to change. The music will stop. There it is. I'm just going to see if I can configure my video. I cannot configure my video. The video is gone. The video is back. It's still not working. That is a shame. Let's come back where the music is. What I'll do is I'll pause the screen and I'll be back in just a second. Let's see what I can do. Okay, I'm back. What I had to do is I had to go over to another monitor because the camera controls were in the background. So, yeah, I wonder. It's not allowing me to play with anything. It's also very, very weird. I do apologise for this break in video stability. It's pretty terrible, isn't it? Let's see if I can deactivate the camera. You've been getting lag issues this evening as well. Well, it's a live stream, and these are the things that happen. It's all going to go bad. It's all going to go bad together. That's fine. Let's go back door again, and I'll see if I can deactivate the camera, and I'll start it again, because sometimes that makes it work. It's actually just turned the whole camera off. That's a real shame, isn't it? Go cycle through some cameras. Yeah, the gremlins are here. Hello, hello, we're here. We've got it. I've got it back. Welcome to Easy 8 Online Painting Club, where nothing ever goes right. Well, if anybody knows how to solve that problem, get in touch. So, here is my Trygon. I'm going to be carrying on painting this bad girl this evening. I'm going to be staining up the claws. I'm going to be doing a little bit of work on the carapace, which I'm really happy with. So the claws are going to be kind of going this kind of bony colour, because at the moment they're all kind of white. It was decided on the last show that all the claws should all be kind of prickly and white, rather than kind of blending off into the grey. And now that I've painted them white, I consider this widely to be a good move. Everyone's going, hooray! Yeah, it's cool, man. What I am going to do, I was going to say I was going to alter the focus, but do you know what? For now, that can stay like that. That's fine. Bring a bit of light into the area. Here we go. Yeah, I'm really sorry about the camera. I just kind of wanted to get on air because, yeah, I was so late. So the technical tests were missed. Although I think that I still probably would have cut the corner. But these things happen, right? So let's just get painting. Let's just get some paint on this. Here we go. So I've got some Seraphim Sepia, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little filter over those bone claws. So yeah, do let me know what it is that you're painting this evening. Some people have just been talking about the internet works in the area that I live in, and asking for refunds and things. I don't do refunds. I keep all your money. I don't take any money. It's a free show. Yeah, so let us know what it is that you're working on this evening, if you're working on anything at all. I think what I'm going to do, because that was quite a disruption to the beginning of the show, once it's been uploaded to YouTube, or YouTube allow me to edit the video, which normally takes about 24 hours, is I'll just put I'll put like a little marker in the timestamp, so that if you want to watch it back on replay later on, you don't have to go through all that awful business right at the beginning. You can just kind of get to the bit where I'm talking to people. So yeah, we can do that, and I'll put a little note in the description so that people can kind of find that. Totes soz. Kes says, painting battle mechs. You showed me some pictures of your battle mechs, beg your pardon, and all of the paraphernalia that you're painting for it. It looks absolutely brilliant. Well done. I particularly like your little transport vehicles, like the little bus and things. They're really cool. But the battle mechs themselves are really cool. So a little bit of Seraphim on here. I'm trying, as always, to avoid pooling and getting like coffee stains. And it's quite important to make sure that you wipe the brush over the area and do it while it's wet. It will dry quite quickly. It's quite warm in this room today, so it will dry quite quick. And as soon as it starts to dry, you kind of end up breaking the skin of that paint and dragging it. And that's when it kind of gets messy. So I think also not overloading the brush really helps, because when you push the brush down onto the area that you want to paint, it's doesn't spread out everywhere. Out of this world, models and minis. Hope all is well. I'll catch the show on rewatch when I get home from work. Congratulations on the increased subscribers. Thanks very much, man. I really appreciate that. Sorry for the delayed start to today's show, but thanks for your support, John. Really appreciate it. I hope you're well, bro. Darren says, adding more stowage to my truck. Yeah, you sent me some pictures earlier on. You said you weren't too happy with the colours of your truck, or the canvas on the back. I really like it, but I can see what it is that you're talking about. So perhaps maybe a sandy colour. I don't really know so much about that sort of material, but yeah, that's what I reckon, like a more khaki sandy colour. And Jeff says, I've been putting grass on 16 buildings. God, I've lost the will to live today. I hope that you get through that. work through that difficulty in your life right now. So I'm just, I suppose I've got to try and just be patient with this, because there's a lot of claws on this model, and it's important to make sure that they're all hit properly. And I've just noticed that there's actually like tiny little flecks of that bone white colour that when I was painting on the claws, I got a tiny bit on the arm there and not noticed it before I was able to clean it up. So when I'm kind of coming through with these brown colours, is I can actually try and hide them a little bit. And then if they still show through later on, then I'm going to have to come through and do like a repair job, so to speak. Yeah, there's quite a blob just here. I don't know if you guys can pick that up. Nah, it's quite hard to see. Stafford says that he is building a Panzer IV followed by my car for the Gaslands campaign. Yes, we have decided to finally get on with that Gaslands campaign. Just as we were about to start it, we all started playing tanks, because tanks are cool as well. And we didn't play Gaslands anymore. So we played a couple of games recently, and they've been really different from what we've normally played, trying out new things, and yeah, the game's taken a different turn. Stafford, if I remember, didn't do anything different, actually kept the same sort of thing, and then beat us badly. Didn't win though, did you? You still beat me though. Some of these claws are particularly hard to get in and around, so just making sure that when I put paint onto it I can get to it quickly and have to manipulate it so that I don't get the problems that I was just talking about. Like this here could turn into quite a pool. Stafford says, but I did not explode for once. Yeah, you did take the nuclear engine. Don't die with a nuclear engine attached to you, because you take out everything else around you and yourself. Cool, lovely. It's actually going on quite smooth today. I remember doing this top claw here the other day, and I think I put it on too heavy, and there's a couple of patches at the top, which I'm sure I'll be able to dry brush out, or even kind of maybe give another wash. That might be a bad idea, but yeah, this is definitely going on much better, and I think it's just down to the quantity of wash that I'm holding in the brush here. My plan is to just kind of work down one side at a time, and make sure that I just give a good blanket effect, if you like. I'm just going to make sure that I hit everything on the way down and don't miss anything out. Because when I was painting the white on them, these claws up here by the neck, there's some little spikes in here. I actually missed one. I had to go back in for it. And I thought I was being pretty thorough at the time. So, yeah. There's also some paler colours under there as well, like these pinks. So if I put too much of this wash on the brush, it could overspill, and then like I'll get it onto the other areas, and I'll have to go back in and clean it up, especially if I don't see it early enough. I have to go back and repaint it, and that'll be a nightmare, because these have actually come out, like all those pink bits here, they've come out really well. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. And even though this brown is dulling them down, it's obviously the effect that I want, but it does blend them off a little bit more into the yellow. I'm going to come back in and highlight them, and I'm even going to put some darker browns on them. Just like on this claw here, you can see there's a little bit of darker brown. That's Agrax Earthshade, just to kind of give it a bit more depth. And I'm just going to put a little bit at the base of these claws. So for example, let's pick a good claw. This big one here. Get it in focus, Danny. This big claw here, I'll put like a little line just up against the edge where the flesh becomes bone, if you like. Again, just to give it some definition, just to give it some depth. And then I'll come in with some dry brush with the original bone colour, bone white colour, and then yeah, just kind of really focus on the tips of the claws. Nice. Lovely. This is going really well, going on really smooth. The colours, I really like not Agrax. I really like Seraphim Sepia. It's kind of like my cure-all. Hides all my mistakes and makes everything look way more awesome. And if you get it in the right place, it looks really cool. I've just accidentally flicked it on to another part, but in the perfect place. So that was pretty lucky. I think my brush needs a bit of a clean and a bit of a dry out. So yes, there we go. Let's get some more Seraphim on there. I'm starting to run out of Seraphim, so it's probably time to go and get some more. It's lasted me quite a while. But if I start to use a lot more of it, I might have to maybe double up on my purchases. I used to use Agrax Earthshade, which I say is much darker. It's actually a cooler brown as well. I used to use it on the yellows of my Tyranids, and while it was very good at the time, I decided one day just to change over to Seraphim, which is much lighter. It has, I believe, a warmer tone to it. I was like, yeah, I've been missing out. This is the colour that I really want. And I use Agrax Earthshade for just, like deeper recesses, if you like. A little bit of extra depth here and there. You know it's quiet because I'm concentrating. So, yeah, you know I'm concentrating when I'm quiet. I like there to be quite a darker area at the base of the claw. So for here, for example, on this particular claw there, I've got like where that carapace joins onto the bone. I like there to be like a little line, almost like it's like at the border of a drawing, if you like, you know, the outline. It just kind of just sets it off a little. See some more comments going in. Jeff says, yeah, I have a big pot of homemade brownish sludge that I tend to cover most terrain in during painting. Fills gaps and covers mistakes. Yeah, it hides a multitude of sins. And I think pretty much anyone who's been painting models for even just a few months kind of knows it's a good thing to have. Sludge wash. Although I try not to sludge wash so much anymore. I used to do it to all my Tyranids. Yeah, I just try not to do it too much. Try to be a bit more precise, just while I'm trying to like improve my painting. Not to say that sludge washes mean that you're not good or that you're not going to improve. Just I'm just trying to be a bit more exact with my application. Got a little bit on these different colours here, and I was quick enough to remove it. Just. Yes, there we go. Nice, cool, good. You see how those claws are kind of like really blending away with the yellow now, and actually on this monitor they look like they're yellow. I know that the monitor is pretty poor, but yeah, they really need to have that white color re-established. So a good dry brush will really help do that. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go with it yet. Am I going to put some dark brown on them before I do the dry brush, or should I do a dry brush and then put a bit of dark brown in there? I think I did the dark brown after I did the dry brush on this one, so I might do that again to see how that works. Just the last few bits and pieces now, but they're so small and there's so many of them, it feels like it's an age. And all I'm doing is just blopping this little bit of seraphim on there. I think that might have been one of the reasons why initially I was quite keen to keep them grey, knowing that painting them white was going to really sort of like show them up. And there's a lazy part of me, a subconscious lazy part that was like, no. You're going to do them grey, you will hide them. No, I can't stop but get brown. In there, come on. That's better. Dry that brush off again. Right, up the arms now. There's still loads more to do on the tail. There's all these little ones down here, but on these ones I'm only doing the top sides of them. I've tried to get a little bit of like white underneath, but it's actually been quite difficult because obviously there's a big base there. Gert big base, for anybody that doesn't live in the local area here, is a a word from a stereotypical dialect for southwest of the UK. Gert to mean great or big. Gertlush. Very good. It's not actually from my county, it's from a neighbouring county, but it's funny. It's a tricky claw to get into, and it's actually quite easy to see from the front because of the way that it's positioned here, like it's on his elbow. Yeah, it's got a big blob hanging underneath it, so I'm just going to dab my brush on here. I'm just kind of pushing it back out into the palette, and then just on here, look at this big blobby bit here. See how much there's on there? Put my brush in here. Didn't even have to touch the plastic. And it's just lifted that away, and it's left the right amount in there. Okay, that's good. There we go, that's all the little ones up the side there. And that took a lot of concentration just to kind of keep my will going. I was trying to be neat and tidy at the same time and make sure I wasn't overspilling or putting too much on. I've still got the big claws to do. These ones here on the tops, I'm not entirely happy with the colour of white underneath them, but I hope actually when I come to dry brush them, perhaps I can... I know I overused the term re-establish quite a bit, but I'll probably be able to establish a decent, white colour back onto them. I think it just went on a bit thin perhaps on those ones. Still got the mandibles to do, and these two claws. So I'm just going to carry on now. I'm just going to do these big claws. I can kind of rest a little bit. Big surface to, ease into here. Let's see if I can keep the good smooth paintwork going for a moment. Staff says that he's lost the internet and he's back now. Apologies. Absolutely fine, mate. Don't worry. Obviously, they're doing work in the area. We all live relatively close to each other, so we're all probably on the same link. So, yes. Because some of my viewers all live in the local area because, well, friends. So it goes to show that actually some of my issues tonight have been internet related. Not the camera and not my tardiness. They are on me. Cool. Now this big one here. That was a bit harder to do, that one. Gone over onto the yellow bit in there, but that's not so bad. I might even make these little bits in here like some stretchy muscles. I might even make this pink now that I see them. I kind of tie it in with the whole sinew or muscle theme that I've got elsewhere on the model. A little bit of pooling on the tip there, but I'm not actually against that. I know I wanted it to be paler towards the end, but actually a little bit of darkness towards the end, and if I dry brush, over it, it might kind of help blend the colour in a little bit. Need a bit more on this one over here, I think, as well. I might be like ruining it all now. Let's see. All right, I'm not gonna push that any further. Right, nice. Let's do these mandibles. Funny little shape things that they are. Oh, my workbench is frozen. I just looked up to see it. Yeah, the camera's being a bit ticky, isn't it? I'll see if I can reset it again in just a second. I'll just finish doing these mandibles. You can see me in the top corner. I'm painting some mandibles. This is an absolutely brilliant way of showing off the quality live stream to all my new viewers. It's not normally this rough around the edges. Oh no, Kes just says one of his models fell off its base. Sorry, man. Good quality super glue. That's what you need. I recommend the one from Green Stuff World. That's what I use. And you can buy an activator for it as well. So if you need something to dry sharpish, if you need it to dry pronto, you just spray one piece with the activator and then you put the super glue on the other one, and when they touch, they ain't coming apart. Cool. There we go. Brilliant. It's just tail spike bits now to do. Right, so I'm going to wash my brush off over here, and then I'm going to come back to that camera. Let's see if I just move away. If I go here, let's see what happens. Oh yeah, got some bad juju going on the screen over here. Back to the workbench. Oh no. Oh man, my live stream quality is falling apart at the seams, isn't it? Crazy. Right, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do that thing where I pause the music and stuff again. I think I'm going to try and deactivate the camera, maybe? Let's go back to the intro screen. Sometimes that resets it. Here we go. It's not working, is it? It's really bad today. I'm really sorry. Okay. I'm going to do it. I'm going to deactivate it. And now I'm going to activate it. Let's see what happens. Oh, guys, this is so bad this evening. Do you know what? I'm going to come away from the workbench for a minute, and I can just sit here and talk to you face to face. I'm actually having problems with my camera here, and my camera there. That's what those crackles seem to be from. So I wonder if I've got some more cabling issues. That might be my problem here. So yeah, who knows? I can only apologise for the quality drop in my live stream today. I can only apologise for me being really late today. Yeah, it's a bit dodgy, isn't it? Bit rubbish. I don't mind. But obviously for you, not the best viewing quality. I'm gonna watch my subscribers drop away. So yeah, I've got to now go back onto the tail spikes and to put some Seraphim sepia on here. If I bring this bag out up to the camera, you can see all those lovely claws and spikes and mandibles have now been painted with Seraphim sepia. Just a light coat, and I'm going to let them dry for a minute. And what I'll do when they dry, I'll come in, I'll give them a dry brush with the original white, bone white colour, and I'll let that set. That won't take very long, obviously, dry brush. And then I'll come in with a bit of Agrax Earthshade. And I've shown this off like a million times, I know. But here's Seraphim Sepia, and here, beside it, is Agrax Earthshade. And you can see the difference. Bring them up on the bottom so you can see that one's much darker, one's much lighter. I actually find that Seraphim Sepia is a warmer colour, and Agrax Earthshade is a cooler colour. So they have these different qualities. And I'm going to use Agrax to just put at the base of the claws and just make them look a bit darker. Just, as I say, just adds a little bit of depth, adds a bit of flavour. And then I might need to do a dry brush over the top of that to just kind of bring in those white colours again, and that should make them stand out from the yellow. And then you kind of got this like multi-colour model where the details stand out, and then you kind of got the yellow and the grey that are the two base colours of it. I'm not a fantastic artist, so I'm sure there's like some wonderful colour theory that I could go into. I just chose the colours because I thought they looked nice. But yeah, it works. It works. I've got a little bit of coffee staining on the mandibles, and I think it's a bit late to really kind of go in and pull that off. So I'm just going to leave it, and hopefully I'll dry brush it out. So yeah, there's that. Okay, so some other things that we can talk about before I go into the back end of the monitor and try and repair things in there again. I went ahead and bought some new paints over last week because I'm painting up a 135th Honey tank, which is the M3 Stuart from the Second World War. It came with some suggestions on how to paint it. One of them was in the olive green colour, which I quite like that colour. I think it's really nice, but it doesn't come with the Allied Star. It was kind of in the Philippines. So I actually like painting olive green with the Allied Star that you often see on like traditional Shermans and things like that. So I thought if I was going to do olive green, I really wanted it to have that traditional look, and I didn't want it to be in the Philippine conflicts. So I decided to go the other paint scheme that was suggested in the box, which is the British Desert Rats colour, and I think it's using the Caunter Scheme. It tells me on the instructions what colours to use, but they're all like very specific brand based, and I couldn't find like a particular paint set that included them all. So I went around and had a little look. I'm as we all know, I'm really big into AK Interactive, the modulation sets. So this here is the olive drab, US olive drab modulation set. It's all one colour, just different luminosities, if you like. Hey, it's Darren. Have a good evening all. Gotta go. Cheers, mate. Hope you're well. Sorry for the drop in quality today. Yeah, so I thought that I'd get another set from AK. It actually took me a really long time to find an appropriate colour set. And it was often that a set of paints had some colours that I didn't want at all, and then there was only like some that were quite close, or there was only like one in the set that was good. It took me a while to nail it down, so what I've gone and got is the AK Interactive Caunter Scheme for North African and Mediterranean British vehicles at 1940 to 1941. Yeah, British desert colours. There are lots of different types of colours, schemes and patterns that you can have for camouflage, and you don't have to use all of these colours. On the back, they've actually got some like different like schemes and colour usages, etc. The ones that I'm really looking forward to using, if you have a look at the colour on this truck on the front, is the light green, which is like a slate grey kind of colour, and that sandy colour. And the tank actually has like a split down the middle, so the lower part of the hull is the sandier colour, and then the top part is that slate green colour. and it should look really, really nice. And then I've also got the Caunter Scheme, which I think that these colours, out of all of the North African colour schemes for the British military in that time, I think these colours are my favourites. There were some other ones in it that were very, very bold, or I thought were a little bit boring, or in some cases too close to each other. And I'm not an accurate historical painter, so I don't really mind if they don't represent fully or truly what they should have been, because I just like putting paint on things and I like things to look good. And I don't really care if these are the right colours or not. They just kind of look cool. They are near enough for what I was looking at, and I'm happy with that. That's great. So they're airbrush paints. I can apply the mud brush. I've got to bring my M3 Stuart up at some point. I'm going to undercoat him with some primer, and then I'm going to get painting on those. It's a little private project. I don't do it on the show because I spent so long doing a 1/35th build a little while ago that still needs weathering. By the way, still haven't finished it, so I just kind of wanted to keep those off in the background. It's just something that I do when I feel like having a bit of a change in the studio sometimes. So yeah, that is a really good cup of tea. Right, so I'm going to go back to the camera and give it another shot and see if it's working. I am getting a couple of lag spikes on here as well, which is probably not helping at all. Let's go back over to the workbench. It's still not working there, is it? Okay, let's go in the background, see what I can do. I will flick it to this camera. It seems to like it when I do this one and it goes upside down. I've actually lost the camera entirely. It doesn't want to be there. Bye. I think we're back. I think I'm back in business. I'm not back in business. It's crazy. Got some real problems with my cameras this evening. I do apologise. It may even be worth, especially with my late start, maybe finishing a bit early today. Something that I don't normally like to do, but I'd rather give a good quality show. Yeah, there's nothing coming up there at all. And I'm getting a lot of interference from, you know, various factors that I don't know about. And I'd rather give as much quality as I can in a short period of time, rather than prolonging the agony. So yes, that may be what I do. This camera's flickering quite badly. This camera's not working, and I don't know why. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to put a little bit more seraphim on the claws on the tail spike of this beast, and then I might just kind of leave it for an intermission. Come back. It's really warm in here. Hopefully, that's not the reason that my cameras are going mental. That shouldn't be the case. I mean, it's not like tropical in here. It's just warm. Yeah. Hopefully by the end of an intermission I'll be able to come in and give it a little bit of a dry brush, and we'll see where we're at with this show. So do you know what I'll do? I'll come away from here because you're still looking at like a really boring looking at a really boring screen that doesn't move. Jeff says, Lorna says, plugging it in, plugging it back, unplugging it, plug it back in, and then bash it. Yeah, it's a very expensive camera. Not going to do that. It's just going to come away from this workbench. Such a shame. Clearly I need to have a really good look at these cameras. I've got some time off coming up over the next few days, so I'll have a good look at it then. Back to the seraphim. Here we go. So just going down the sides of the tail. If I was to lift it back up, bring it up to this camera here, show you here, you can see all those tail spikes on the base there, all those little white ones. I'm just going to give this a little lick of seraphim sepia. I like the paint to pool at the base of the claw because of the... I want it to be darker down there, and then have it like going paler to the tip. Makes it look like it's pointier, makes it look like it's sharper, because it gets brighter towards that end. But because of the design of the claws, the way that they're attached to the rest of the model and the way that they're sculpted, actually the paint wants to pull towards the point, which is kind of in the opposite direction. So I put it on the model, and then I leave it for a second because it will start to set a little bit, and then I come back and try and manipulate it a little bit more, try and drag it back up, but without trying to make too much contact. Steph says, turn it off and on again. That is literally, when you saw it a minute ago, when I was going in the back door of the camera, that's what I was doing. And unfortunately, that tells me that no amount of technical preparation at the beginning of the show prior to it starting would have helped with that. I'm really sorry. It's happened a couple of times recently, and I don't want it to. So soz. But you know, I do understand it is a live stream. I take it as it is. I certainly don't take it personally, and it is only a hobby. But with all these new subscribers that are joining lately, I want to make it as good as I possibly can, so that you feel inclined to share it with more of your friends. I was absolutely blown away by the amount of subscribers that we've had over the last week and a bit. It went mental in the first 5 days. Had like five new subscribers. I was getting at least one a day up to a certain point. It was great, and I can only thank you so much before it gets repetitive. But thank you very much. Right, I've done one side. I'm now moving down the other side of the tail. I have a feeling that dry brushing these ones on the base might be a bit trickier because there's less space to move around him, just because it's lying against a flat surface, and it's the snake, if you like, is all kind of coiled up, and that's going to make it pretty tricky. Not as tricky as some of the other claws that are actually on the arms and on the body, etc. They're going to be quite tough. But that's just a case of patience. Just the last one there is really quite difficult to see. Moving my head around in really awkward positions. I don't think that's really helping. Okay. So, that is all of those tail spikes done. There are more claws to do, but they're weird ones. On the top arms, it has like little fingers that kind of come in on the top. They're not present on any of the other arms, and I only noticed it when I got actually halfway through painting the creature. I was like, what are these weird bits? And I saw these little funny finger claws that kind of come over the top like this. I will show them to you now. So... I know that camera there is not going to work, so if I bring him in nice and closely here. So on these top claws, just in here, you can see two vertical claws that are going down. And the same on this claw over the top over here. You can just see that I've painted them with some bone white. They didn't look very good. I tried to wash them with Seraphim Sepia when I was doing the top claws, and I ruined it, so I had to go back in with some white. And then I realised I missed some pink bits in there as well, and it all just got a little bit messy. So I'm going to do those like a little bit later on when I can be bothered, I suppose. And I'll just kind of put another layer of white on them, tidy them all up, neaten up all that pink that's in there, get some Seraphim in there, and just try not to hang around too much, because yeah, the Seraphim Sepia didn't want to run in the right place, in the right direction, and it made it look pretty naff. So I'm going to be trying careful with that. I might even just get some paint and actually like hand paint the effect in if it's not going to work very well. Anyway, all the little claws are all done, and that definitely needs some time to dry. I'm going to take a quick break, as I always do halfway through the show, because we're about halfway through if we were going to run for 2 hours. So I'll be back in about 10 minutes. In the meantime, if you are painting, or even if you're not, and you've just got some paint water sat on the side, you should definitely go and change your paint water. Go do it now. Gross. Hello, I'm back. I've had a tinker with some of the cameras in the background. I can't check them without interfering with the show, so I'm gonna see if it works. Anyway, hope you had a good intermission. Yeah, hope you changed your paint water. It's been a bit of a rubbish show tonight, and I do apologise for that. Anyway, I'm gonna head over to the workbench and see if the camera is working. I bet it's not. It's really not working, is it? Yeah. I can only apologise. I don't know the root of my problems. It's a problem that's starting to get worse and worse. It might be a wiring problem. It might be the way that my cameras are connected to my system. When I had problems originally with them, I had kind of played around with it. I got a lot of help from the community, Kess especially, on how to kind of sort all those problems out, and those problems went away. And now bit by bit they're starting to come back in again, and I wonder if I've got faulty cameras or if I've even got problems with my PC. That would be rubbish if that's the case. If this continues, then I'm just going to start stripping the system down bit by bit and just kind of putting things back into place over time. I hope that doesn't interfere with the quality of the show. One of those things, isn't it? What I'm going to do is one more time now, because I have unplugged the camera and plugged it back in. I'm going to have another go and see what happens. Here we go. Here's the lead for it. I've unplugged it. It's just not done anything. Is it even turning it off? It has turned it off. Literally just, I've got a frozen picture on my screen. Okay, plug it back in, see what happens. I'll come away and I'll go back in. It's a bit unsettling. Here we go. No, it's not working, is it? I humbly apologise once again. Anyway, if you are hobbying away tonight, which some of you are, I hope you're having a great night doing it. I have now got all of these spikes painted. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a go at dry brushing just one of the claws and just seeing how that affects the colour of the Seraphim sepia that I've put on there. So it kind of tells me how I need to proceed. Do I need to put a bit more Seraphim on there? Do I need to put some Agrax on first? Do I need to do it in a specific order? Or does it just look okay with one little shot? So I'm going to go to my favourite bone colour, which is the Citadel Screaming Skull. I have the bone white from Vallejo Game Air, which is very, very close. This is a little richer. This is a little paler. This is also for airbrushes, so it's very, very liquidy, and that's not what you want for dry brushing, so this is the much better choice. I just prefer the colour, to be fair. Bone white does have its place, but Screaming Skull is just more my jam. I'm going to give it a little bit of a shake. I'm going to give it a bit of a waz on the Easy 8 Wazomatic. That's a Vortex paint shaker. Wazomatic sounds fun. Cool. Just a little bit of a handshake as well. There we go. Lovely. So I'm not going to use my very expensive brush because that would probably be a bit silly. I've got a selection of brushes that I can use here, and I'm going to try and keep it quite small, I think. I've got like an old rubbishy brush, and it's okay for doing some jobs. It's quite soft, but it's a synthetic one, so it's got a bit of rigidity to it. Rigidity, it's a tough word to say when you stammer. And I'm hoping that might give it a little bit of flick as well. See what happens. Keston's saying, I'm on holiday next week. Could try and come around at a time. Come around over, have a look. If you're like, yeah, that would be really great. If you could just kind of come over, help me sort out some of those problems. I'd really appreciate that. I've got a little bit of time as well. But I'll let you know. We'll stay in touch, see what happens. Maybe we'll have a chat on Discord at some point as well. I'm thinking what I'm going to do this evening, just because another show of watching my face and not being able to see what I can do is a bit of a rubbish show. So I might just kind of get this done and then just call it for the night, and then see if I can sort of solve any of these problems between now and next week, because I'd rather deliver quality. What I'm doing right now is I'm removing some of that paint, some of the Screaming Skull. I've coated the bristles in it, and I've got a little bit of dark dried paint, a bit of black paint actually, in my palette, and I'm just running the brush over that to see how much is coming off. And I'm going to go over to one of the claws I've done. I'm going to go over to the first one that had like the the heavier pigment of Seraphim at the tip, because I want to kind of see how that makes the whole thing look. I'm just going to start by doing just a couple of really light brush strokes on it, and I'm just going to work on one facet for the moment, one face, and I'm going to put some heavier effects towards the tip, and I hit the dry brush against the edges to bring those lines out, make them defined. But I'm also going to try and go down the length of the claw so that it takes away any kind of directional brush strokes, and if any do appear, then hopefully they'll run with the grain of the claw. The grain of the claw, I made that up, but you know what I mean, it goes in the direction of it. Stafford saying, well volunteered, thanks, Kess. Doesn't matter if I get it on the grey carapace, which is very likely to happen given that I'm dry brushing so close to them. It won't matter at all, because those parts of the grey haven't actually had any effects on them. They're just colours blocked in. There's nothing happening on them. Applying just a bit more paint to the brush, taking it off with a tissue. You know the drill with dry brushing. Softly dry brush. It's actually looking really cool. What I don't like with dry brushing, and one of the reasons why I try to avoid it, is the chalkiness that it can leave. It can leave an appearance of graininess when all your blends are smooth. That really shows up, and I don't want that. So I've been watching some videos on dry brushing, and I kind of got it sucked into a lot of the videos, tutorial videos by Artis Opus. Artis Opus, yeah. They're a brand of brushes. They make very, very good dry brushes and some other brushes as well. And there's some instructional videos on how to use them. I'm not using one of their brushes. They are very expensive. I would like to get one. But they're saying that dry brushes shouldn't be like so dry. They should actually have a certain amount of dampness to them, and they come with, or you can buy, a damping pad, which is basically a tiny thin sponge, which you have like moisture, so little moisture in it, it's almost like half of a droplet of water, and it kind of goes into the sponge. And when you get your dry brush with your paint on to the correct amount, you just kind of tap the brush into this damping pad, and it just offers a little bit of moisture to the paint that stops it from being so claggy, so chalky. So when you put it on, you get these really smooth applications. So I'm trying to do my best with dry brushing in that style, but having a damp dry brush is very hard, especially if it's easily achieved with a damping pad, but not without, because I don't have it. And in my attempt to remove some of the paint from the dry brush, I think I've actually removed it all on this particular side. Struggling to get the colours in there. Getting a little bit of something. There we go, might need to go for a little bit more here. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give it a try. I'm actually going to put a little bit of moisture on my brush. I'm just going to dip my finger into my paint water, which is clean. It's not. Just going to put a little drop over there, and I'm just going to just touch the bristles of my paintbrush into it, and I'm going to dry it off. And I can feel now that actually it's ever so slightly damp, ever so slightly. Put a bit of paint in there, and I'll rub that off as well, nice and easy. And as I'm wiping my paintbrush now into the palette, I can see that there's some slight shininess to it, like the paint is ever so slightly damp. And I wonder how much difference that's going to make. I'm going to go in really lightly now, knowing that the paint could be activated, and I'll get probably big marks. Okay, nothing untowards right now. It's actually working really well. Really impressed with that. Just a simple little technique. That was literally just a fingertip in the water, and I just dolloped it into my palette. It's the tiniest amount, and I just touched the edges of my paintbrush into it. Applied the paint that I wanted to the paintbrush, and then rubbed it off on a tissue as you would with a normal dry brushing technique, and then just kind of carried on from there. They go heavier towards the very point of the claw. That's looking pretty good. And it's where I'm trying to go heavy with the dry brushing over that darker patch of seraphim is where that chalkiness is starting to show up. So I'm going to come back in with my newfound technique and see if it sort of hides that a little bit. It does, just a little, enough. So there you go, damp brushing. Very happy with that. I'm just going to get a little bit more paint because I've just run out there. Just put another dollop in there. Just a tiny bit of moisture on the end of the brush. Dry it off a little bit. Put a bit of paint on. And then remove it all with the tissue. Give it a test on a dark patch of dry paint in the palette. And then back to that claw. Looking pretty good. Just trying to bring up any edges in there. There's a little bit of patination, if that's even a word. There's a pattern kind of sculpted into the side of the claw. They look like little grooves, and I like the paint to kind of sit in those and kind of like show the darker colour. And I like to highlight the edge of them with a little bit of dry brushing. And again, because it's dark colour in there, it might show up as a chalky texture, but with the damp application of dry brushing, it's hiding that, which is really good. It's really cool. It looks really nice. Just trying to tone down that seraphim a little bit because it's still blending in with the yellow quite a bit. So I'm just going to try and bring it right back to a white colour. And if I really wanted to, I could actually just do a nice little layer colour, like a proper painting layer, on the tips of the claws to just kind of stop it from looking so dry brushed and actually make it look like a smooth colour. Jeff says, have you just invented damp brushing? I don't think so, because I got it from Artist Opus, but if I'm going to take the credit, if someone wants to give me the credit, I'll take it, for sure. I won't, that'd be awful. Nice. That's actually come out really well. What happens if I just lick the end of my finger and just put a tiny bit of moisture on the end of there? I'm going to go a little bit heavier with a bit more dry brushing. Just going to put a bit more paint on the brush, leave a bit more on there, and really kind of get the point of that claw quite white. I think that's crying out for a little bit of Agrax, because I can see it. I can compare it to the pincer on the tail, and I can see how good a good transition of browns that it makes. Kind of babbling a little bit. Transition of browns. It has a good transition. It has a good blend, a good mixture, a good level of depth. That's what I'm trying to say. But this claw is coming out really well, and I will show you. And I'll also take some photographs as well, and I'll put them on Facebook so you can see everything that I'm doing, because you haven't been able to keep up on the camera again. So bad, so bad. Anyway, here we go. So if John, I'm having another go with the camera. Why not? I'm going to give it another shot. Workbench, work. No. It is not having it. It's not having it at all. So yeah, I've put some on this particular claw here. I've highlighted it with a dry brush, so now it really stands out. I can't even see it probably on this camera, can we? I'll take some photos and I'll put them on Facebook so you can see them over there. This camera's not bright enough with all my studio lights. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'm going to put some Agrax Earthshade on it. I'll do all that at the same time. So I'll dry brush all of these claws, all of the ones that I've painted today, all the tail spikes, all the spikes down the side of the ribs. I'll do as mandibles. I'll do the finger claws at the top. I'll do all of them. Get them all seraphimed because there's still a couple that need doing on those fingers. And then I'm going to dry brush them all, get them all to the right sort of level that I want, and then apply just a little bit of Agrax. And then that might need more dry brushing over the top. Would it be a Wazomatic? Oh, I need a Wazomatic. And you, Wazomatic? You guys are having a great conversation over there. I need a Wazomatic. It wasn't the be-all, end-all that I wanted it to be, the Wazomatic, the Vortex, if you want to call it that. It has helped, especially as I use dropper bottles and I use airbrush paints. They are much more liquid. With Citadel paints, they're a little bit more viscous. It does help, but I wouldn't go rushing to go get one. I would certainly find yourself a cheap one. You can get some very expensive ones out there for nearly £100. My recommendation is don't do that. Search around on Amazon, see if you can find nail varnish shakers, because they're essentially the same thing. It might be that the more expensive ones have a more vigorous shake, but just hold it on there longer, or get yourself a little ball bearing or the little dropper bottle mixer balls and put them into any of your paints, and that will help churn it up on the inside. There are reams and reams of videos out there, such as is it Luke's Advanced Painting Services, Luke's apps basically, Luke's APS. He does loads of videos on all sorts of things, and he's worked his way up from the bottom, and he's now like a proper pro. He's really good, and he does a whole video on just how to make sure that your paints are mixed properly, and it goes on for ages, and it's very in depth. So if you want to get that level out of it, go see that video. I don't have a video to link, unfortunately. Perhaps I'll see if I can find it. Or you could just go and buy a little shaker and put a little ball bearing in it. That would do the same thing as well. Stafford says I'm using 20-year-old mithril silver. Yeah, you just get yourself a little cheap Vortex if you want to have one. I picked mine up for 30 quid. So much cheaper. It's about a third of the cost, and as far as I'm concerned, it does the same thing. Put a little ball bearing in it, or anything that's hard that can mix it up on the inside. Yeah, that will do your job, I reckon. That's my tip. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a night early today. We are getting like close to 9 o'clock. We've still got like half an hour to go for the full run of the show, but the quality of the cameras are really holding it all back. Excuse me. But before we go, I just wanted to mention that during the week I met an old friend. Actually, last weekend. Someone that you guys know. I met Kyle, and it was lovely to see him. In fact, quite a few of us in the community out there who know we're friends actually met Kyle as well, and it was really nice to catch up with him. He was looking really well. He's been working very hard, and that's why he took a step back from Easy 8, because he helped me create this show, and he was a co-host. I used to be up there in that corner where I often am, and he was up there in that corner, and we would talk. And he lives a bit of a distance away from me, but it was a great way for him to tap into the hobby. And he was the first person that said carving out 2 hours of every week for yourself to get into something that you really enjoy. But he had to take a step back for his work. He has felt disconnected from the hobby and really wants to come back, which is great. To have him back again would have the show in some sort of sense of completion, and it would certainly help me identify when I'm not painting in shot or missing out some of the text, because he was really good at keeping up on top of that when you guys are chatting in the live chat. But it was also just nice to have another voice on the channel as well. He really wants to come back, and actually he wants to come back here into the studio for a show, just to kind of have like a nice welcome back, and then to try and come back with some sort of form of regularity. When that's going to happen for him, he's unsure. He wants it to be soon. But we all know what it's like trying to manage working life around hobbies. Just look at tonight, for example, half an hour late because I got called into a proper important meeting. Sometimes these things are sent to try us, and we just kind of have to keep our chin ups and soldier on. It's just a bit of a disaster that happened to me today, and then the camera started playing up. So yeah, one of those things. So we could have Carl back. That would be great. That'd be fantastic. Yeah. I also want to say that Easy 8 is going to stay as a weekly show. The last show that I put it out as a question. I was talking about managing work and life around the show, and I'm also going to school. I'm going back and taking my maths because I'm rubbish at it. That obviously takes up a lot of my time. And around the complications of work, or not complications, but the stresses of work and the time pressures of work, the show, and then seeing my friends, and also spending some quality time with my partner, I actually questioned, should I put the show to 2 weeks? And there was a lot of outcry, not negative, there was no negativity, there was a lot of comments, and they were very good and heartfelt comments of people just saying, if you did, I wouldn't get half as much stuff done. And I hear you. I'm going to keep Easy 8 as a weekly show. It helps me do my hobby, and though it's important to make sure that you go to work and that you do those important things, it's also important to make sure that you balance out your hobbies and that you find something that you enjoy. At least that's my opinion on it anyway. So I will stay here as a weekly show. I will certainly try to make it more quality than what it has been tonight, for a place for you to come, once a week for a couple of hours. To, if you struggle to find the time to get your stuff painted, that you can come along and do it in a social setting. Or if you just kind of want to come along for the chit chat, like quite a few of you do, then we're always going to be here. Because I understand that it's not just a painting club for some people, it's a form of catharsis for others, and I really value that, and I really respect that as well. I think it's very important to have that too. So I will maintain the weekly show running. So yeah, good for you, good for me, good for all of us. So I'm going to call it for the evening. I apologise for all the problems. I keep on saying I'm apologetic, but I am. It's your show as much as mine, and I apologise for having to withdraw, but I think it's in the best interest of the show this evening, because you just can't see anything. We've done one episode like that already. So yeah, I will put up some pictures on Facebook. If you are new here, do you know what I'll do? I'll even go to the ending screen. Watch it. There it is. If you're new here, we're not just here on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on in front of my face, we're on Instagram, and we're also on Discord. I'll be over on Discord for just a few minutes after this show, just to catch up with some of you who probably really want to have a chit chat face to face, and maybe have a talk about the technical problems here. And it's been a few weeks since I've spoken to you. I'll be over there for a few minutes before I probably just go and retire with a beer. Do catch up with us on any of those platforms. Do like us and follow us if you're so inclined and you enjoy what we do when it works well. And of course, do please consider subscribing to the channel, and I will do my very best to make it better. I see we've had a massive influx of subscribers over the last week. Well, over 2 weeks, but it was mostly over like about 10 days. And I feel it, man. Like, I'm so grateful. Thank you very much. So if you're new, you're watching this, spread it out more. It will be better. I promise. Okay. And until then, stay safe, be kind, and keep on painting. And I'll see you next week. Take care for now. Bye-bye. What an absolute disaster.